Hi everyone, Grant for the Flame Learning channel. With Flame 2023.2, the team have continued to add more functionality to the animation editor based on your feedback. So now you can manipulate your animation keyframes using an edit box, giving you a more interactive experience when retiming and scaling an animation. This video will cover using the edit box on the curves, as well as using the edit box with the dope sheet. In order to use the edit box, you need to select at least 2 keyframes. The edit box surrounds the selection, and you can perform a variety of adjustments either inside or on the edges of the edit box. The edit box is on by default, but if you wish to disable it, you can do via the context menu, gear menu, or assign a keyboard shortcut. Now the edit box comprises of 2 parts, allowing you to reposition or scale a selection. You have the border of the edit box and a pivot currently located in the middle of the selection. Unlike the edit box with the Gmask tracer, you cannot rotate the selection with the edit box, as it probably wouldn't make sense in this context. To reposition your keyframes using the edit box, it is as simple as clicking anywhere within the edit box and moving it around. If you want to constrain this movement horizontally or vertically, you have 2 options. Either hold Shift and move the edit box, or grab one of the pivot handles to drag the edit box in the chosen direction. As a small note, please be aware that keyframes cannot cross over each other, so the edit box will not go past an unselected keyframe. To scale your keyframe selection within the edit box, there are quite a few choices. You can drag any edge to scale horizontally or vertically, or you can drag any corner to scale horizontally and vertically at the same time. That's the basic scaling functionality, and it's the same as using the X scale and Y scale from the Tools pull-down menu. However, the edit box provides even more scaling functionality when you use a combination of keyboard shortcuts and the pivot. For example, without repositioning the pivot, you can press Alt and drag an edge of the edit box. This will symmetrically scale the edges towards the center of the edit box. The same goes for dragging a corner of the edit box with this keyboard shortcut. So everything scales from the middle of the edit box. If you want the whole edit box to scale proportionately, hold Shift-Alt and drag anywhere on the edges or corners of the edit box. So it's much more intuitive to scale your keyframes and adjust them in terms of intensity and timings. The other component of the edit box is the pivot. In terms of positioning, you can constrain the movement of the edit box horizontally or vertically by pulling on the handles. However, when it comes to scaling, the pivot does a whole lot more. By design, any symmetrical or proportional scaling is centered around the pivot. When the pivot is an outline, this indicates that the pivot is at the center of the edit box. If you click and move the pivot to a new location, the pivot becomes solid. As a great tip, you can also move the pivot to your cursor's position by pressing Shift Meta and click. The next time you perform a proportional scale, the edit box will scale towards the pivot. The same goes for symmetrical scaling. However, once you've moved the pivot from the center of the edit box, you do not need to hold Alt in order to scale the edit box symmetrically. To recenter the pivot point, simply call up the context menu and reset it. One other little function I think you'll find handy is that you can right-click on a keyframe and move the edit box pivot directly over it. This gives you that great flexibility of scaling a keyframe selection around a specific keyframe. Once you're done, you can either reset the edit box pivot via the menu or simply deselect all the keyframes. The next time you make a new selection, the pivot will automatically be in the center of the edit box. The edit box is also available in the dope sheet. When you select more than one keyframe, the edit box will appear around the keyframe selection. Like what can be done in the animation curves, you can click anywhere in the edit box and change the timings of the selected keyframes. And if you click and drag on either side of the edit box, this will scale the timings between the selected keyframes. So the dope sheet is all about timings and does not affect the keyframe values. Additionally, you can also perform symmetrical scaling by pressing Alt and dragging the edge of the edit box. All the keyframes shift to or from the middle of the edit box. And like the behavior in the animation curves, the edit box pivot can also be used when scaling keyframes. So you can move the pivot anywhere within the timings of the selection, and when you scale the edit box, the keyframes scale using the pivot as the center. Right-clicking on any keyframe will also allow you to snap the edit box pivot instead of manually moving it. Finally, right-clicking on the pivot will let you reset it to the center of the edit box. Please subscribe to the Flame Learning channel and click the bell to be notified for future videos. Comments, feedback, and suggestions are always welcome and appreciated. And thanks for watching.